You're listening to Force Majeure, an actual play podcast that's usually Star Wars, but today we're doing something a little bit different. We are playing today a game of my own design called the Village Green Preservation Society. And unaccustomed shill here, if you like the game and you like what we're doing and you think, hey, I'd like to run that for my table, it will be being released to our patrons. And you can join our Patreon and get it yourself for as little as $1 a month. With the caveat of, if you're an Apple user, do not join us on your phone, because then either you will get stung by Apple a load of additional charges, so much so that actually it isn't worth it, or I will get stung with a load of additional charges, so much so that it isn't actually worth it. So if you do want to back our Patreon, because you want a copy of this, because you think it sounds fun, or you love the show, do it via the website, patreon.com/forcemajeurepod. Right, that's it. That's my shilling. I don't normally do it, but there we go. My name is Adam. I am your GM for this little adventure. And I'm joined around the table by an array of guest stars, some of whom are new voices to the show, some of whom are familiar voices to the show. And I'm going to get them to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about who they're playing, starting with the newest voice, Harry.
Hello, I'm Harry, and I'm over from Dice Company podcast, where I play a robot in I would say a team, but frankly, we're barely a team of adventurers.
Yeah, team is a very generous term for what you guys are over there. It is a hella good podcast, by the way. It is very, very good. It's one of my favourites.
We all bring our rather sort of antagonistic friendship relationships over into the podcast.
And who are you playing today?
Today I'm playing Bardal the Liar, a rather elder town elder who, despite looking the image of a spry old farmer, carries himself like a dashing adventurer.
Hi, I'm Lou. You've probably heard me before. I have been on various one-shots, as well as playing Felicity on Dungeon Majeure, which is also brilliant. So go and listen to that. Today I'm playing Beryl Green, the village weather witch, who is a middle-aged lady starting to grow out a little bit sideways, but still plump, red-faced, and cheery, and the typical person you would expect if you were thinking of, like, something written in the 1950s.
Hello, I'm Jeff. I have played once here in a one-shot. I was a doctor. I lived. It's worth noting. In this game, I'll be playing Old Jeb, who is the village priest, a spry early 50s gentleman who's very friendly, very reasonable, and would very much like everything to just be nice and calm.
Hi, I'm Rob. I've been on here before on various little one-shots. I played the Littlest Mandalorian in Tiny Tiger's Adventures.
Littlest war criminal.
A little war crime as a treat. And Vassal Tar in
Somewhere Beyond the Sea.
Somewhere Beyond the Sea, that was it. Blank with names. In this, I'm playing Max. I'm the town sheriff.
It's just another day in the sleepy village of Eiderglass. The wheel of the watermill turns lazily in the flow from the Eiderglass flash, which runs along the eastern side of the village. The farmhands are out in the field tending to the harvest and the cattle. The soothing rhythmic banging of old Ulf's hammer at his forge rings out. A different old character, we have two of them, it's fine, rings out, providing a gentle cadence to the hum of the village. The smell of freshly baked bread lingers in the air, and the children are playing cricket in the grassy field to the side of Town Hall. The inn is starting to fill up as some of the fisherfolk finish their work for the day, and the general store begins to close its doors, business done. In the village hall, the elders of the village gather for their weekly meeting, where they discuss little of consequence, for indeed, there is rarely much of consequence to discuss in Eiderglass, where the villagers largely tend to behave themselves and bandits seldom bother. All this is about to change, for unbeknownst to the village elders, but knownst to us, the back door to the forbidden tomb of Karstan Queria, the howling horror, beast of the dark nether and part-time pandemoniac, has just been kicked open. The tomb is cleared, and something far scarier than demons, undead, or twisted servants of the shadow are about to descend upon the gentle utopia of Eiderglass. They are about to encounter an adventuring party. Because of course, to you or I, it is fun to inhabit the skins of these mighty heroes of legend, to go forth and make things right in the world by the power of sword and spell and faith. But to the average, everyday, normal people of the world, these blood-crazed, death-defying, situation-escalating, lawless adrenaline junkies might just be the biggest threat they have ever had to face. Our camera pulls back from the shattered exit to the tomb as dust is rising, and in it we can see 4 silhouettes starting to exit. It pans back further across the gentle rolling hills, past the forest, along the flash into Eiderglass itself, across the wheat fields, up the hill, and in through the window to the Elder's room, where, sat in comfy seats around a cosy fire, and midway through discussing the business of the day, we see...
Old Jeb is, as I said, an early 50s gentleman, quite spry, keeps himself well, dresses reasonably well, but nothing too ostentatious. And he's clearly wearing travelling clothes at the moment. He's preparing himself for a trip away from the village to allow him to connect with the greater church in a nearby town.
Sitting, close to the fire is ostensibly a human woman, maybe late 40s, copper hair just starting to turn to grey, very healthy complexion, dressed in a soft green robe, clearly dressing for comfort, barefooted but with a pair of horns sprouting from the side of her head and a blooming staff leaning against the back of her chair. She is quite happily nibbling on a biscuit and passing a plate around.
In late and last, sitting near at the door, Bardal, the old man, is currently asleep, snoring gently to himself through the meeting, as is his way.
Max is there. He's literally just stretched out in front of the fire. You can see he's a fairly big fella, grey hair, gnawing on a chicken bone. You can see the fire glistening in his big blue eyes. Oh, and his wet nose because he's a dog. Yeah, like an big Irish wolfhound, essentially.
So, Jeb, you reckon you'll be back for the village fair then? You know how much the mister likes it for everyone to be there for the cricket game. Set up Smeckle Bridge right proper.
I hope to be back in time. That I'm sure it's just going to be one of those things. It's a one-day thing. We'll go over some texts, and then I'll be back. Plenty of time. Shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, because you're our best wicket keeper, and he'll be unhappy if you're not there.
Nice of you to say. Nice of you. I'm sure there are people that can step in, but nice of you to say.
And, someone's got to... Max, you're not going to, make a problem for us again this time, are you?
Max perks up.
Yeah, we got to let other people play with it.
It's fine for you to keep it for a while, but when the game is being played, it's going to need to go to other people for at least a bit, Max. Thank you, Max. Fine, Max. I'll have a word with them about that. Proper throws only, not pretend throwing.
The idyllic scene is broken suddenly by an urgent banging on the door to the Elder's chamber.
Ah, goblins! Goblins! Run for your lives!
There's nothing wrong with goblins. There, Bardal. There's nothing wrong with goblins.
Bardal tips back on his chair and collapses into a heap on the floor.
Oh dear. Let's get you up. Do come in.
The door is thrown open, and standing, panting and anxious, we can see one of the varied and vast Schultz clan. Old Bardal, what does this descendant of your loins look like, and what is his name? What is their name?
It's young Maltz, who's a grandson of questionable descent, and is a tall, hearty young farmer.
He's panting away, cheeks flushed, hair dishevelled.
Calm yourself.
Grandpa, our elders! Adventurers! Adventurers are coming! It looks like they've done something. We spotted them out in the field. They've got bags full of gold and battered armour, and they're heading this way.
Oh dear.
Are you certain it couldn't just be peddlers?
Oh no, there's a dwarf and an elf. The elf's got a pointy hat with stars on it.
Yeah, that's a dead giveaway.
Max leaps to his feet.
Don't worry, I know them. An elf with stars on his hat. That'll be young Jim the elf. I've been on adventures with them before. Yes, don't worry, Maltz. Show me to them. I'll be. Just get up.
Is there any chance they're going around the village, or are they coming here?
What I could see, they looked a bit bloody and bruised, and you just know they're going to have cast all their spells. There's nowhere else to rest. There's a halfling. He was rubbing his belly.
Oh dear.
How's the inn? Is there anyone, like, are there beds?
I'm just about to go and let the Carnation Polycule know that they need to start getting everything tidied up, because we can't have them camping in the green again. They'll bugger it right up.
Absolutely not.
We reckon they're ambling. They're doing that whole thing where they're only moving 30 foot every few seconds, so I reckon we've got maybe an hour before they get here. What should we do? And we are about to enter our first scenario. So, for you, and also for our listeners, because of course this is a homebrew system entirely, there will be a number of scenarios, conundra that you are placed under, where you have to react to defuse the dangerous, terrible shenanigans that adventurers will be getting up to. And how this will be working is a set of competing clocks, a village clock and an adventurer's clock. You tell me how you want to start helping, in this case, the village prepare itself for the adventurer's arrival. You will then make a roll, and this roll will be d6s. You will start with 1 for luck, 1 for each of your traits that would benefit you, and you lose a dice if your quirk would get in the way. We take the highest. If you roll a 6, your clock goes up by 2. If you roll a 4 or a 5, both of your clocks, the adventurer and the village clock, go up by 1. If you roll a 1, 2 or a 3, the adventurer's clock goes up by 2. If you fill your clock before the adventurer's clock is filled, you have diffused the situation. Nobody has been killed, nothing has been set on fire, and the adventurers are reasonably appeased. If, however, the adventurer's clock fills first, there will be consequences for the village, and they will not be good ones. The aim of this game is for when the adventurers leave in the morning after they've had their long rest, enough of the village and its inhabitants to still be alive and not on fire for you to be able to play the cricket game on Sunday, or indeed exist as a village. But aside from that brief mechanics, it is entirely narrative. So, as I say, scenario 1, you need to prepare the village for their arrival. Who wants to take the spotlight, and what are you going to do?
As the village weather witch, I'm also a font of druidic power, so I would like to use that to delay the adventurers as much as possible, to sort of block certain paths and give us as much time as possible, in the first instance, to get everything ready, and also to maybe block off certain paths where they shouldn't go down.
Okay. So assemble for me your dice pool, make the roll, and tell me what that looks like based on what you roll.
So 1 for luck, and then 1 for being a font of druidic power.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it? Is it you take the highest, or?
Yep, you take the highest.
So that's a 4.
Okay. Both clocks tick up by 1. So what does that look like?
So, with surprising litheness for someone in, starting to get a bit of middle-age spread, Beryl sort of runs around on her staff. Because there was already some leaves on it, it starts blooming as she goes off and starts talking to some trees, and you can hear that whisper moving through the forest as she effectively asks the forest very nicely to protect some things and also to delay these psychopaths for as long as possible.
And you can see from your vantage point on the hill overlooking the village, and now looking out you can see these figures in the distance, these 4 ominous silhouettes growing closer. and thorn bushes begin to sprout and grow around them, and there is much consternation, and you see them leaving the direct path that they were taking and drop down behind one of the hills, forced into the slightly more circuitous way round the village.
Okay, so I think Max will go next, leaping into action, bounding into the village square. I'm going to get, there's like a town bell, for like if there's a fire, or basically just a warning bell for the town. So Max runs up to that and starts ringing that to get people's attention, to make sure everyone is aware of what's going on, that there's danger coming, and that they're going to need to sort themselves out. One, trouble, nice, I think.
Yep, I don't think your dogness will impact you here, because you're not trying to communicate any further than ringing the danger bell, so...
Yes, yeah, just ring the danger bell, and you can do that by grabbing on the rope at the end.
Yeah. And then not letting it go afterwards.
Oh, it went well then.
I'll get my coat.
I feel really good about this.
Is there a critical fail mechanic in this game?
I mean, not at the moment, but let's see how well you continue to roll.
So I rolled 2 1s. I'm going to take the 1 because I have to.
Ooh, interesting choice.
Let's see how that one works out for you.
You start ringing the bell. Unfortunately, it is both very, very loud for your sensitive dog ears, and also, my rope, my rope. And you get a bit too distracted, and instead of kind of pulling it back and forth, what you do after the first bong is you just pull, and you just keep trying to pull it away. A few peals have rung out, and the village is starting to stir. But again, Beryl, from your high vantage point as you're commanding the grasses, you can see as the adventuring party pop round the hill that they have heard the warning bell. And to them, it is not a warning to the town. To them, it is a warning that there is danger in the town, and they need to pick up their pace to get there quickly and help out. These poor villagers need the assistance that only a skilled band of adventurers can assist. And of course, that just means they're going to be even more grateful when they get there. They'll be heroes.
Ruh-roh.
With the knowledge that we're going to need to appease some egos here, and soothe, just like they've been spiked on brambles, and then they'll be running, so they'll be anxious, and adrenaline will be high. We need to calm them down, and nothing calms people down more than the sort of gift that gives them an adventure to go somewhere else. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to head down to the town church, and I'm going to look through our assorted relics. They don't need to be real strong relics, okay? And then I'm going to very carefully select one that has a tail to it that very reasonably might be true. That maybe suggests that off to the north there's all kinds of, I don't know, undead, demons, something bad. And that this is a weapon that heroes should take into it. Or an item that they should take into it. Or whatever. Like, whatever I can find, really. like if I'm happy to get to deal with, like, my broom if it becomes really essential. And if the dice treat me the way they treat Rob. So... So I've got my one for my look, right? Just like my general one.
Yeah.
And then I think I'm quite happy with one for, like, unimpeachable honour, because I'm going to tell them this story that absolutely makes it true.
Okay. I'm certainly going to say you can have one for being a priest and drawing upon your priestly tat.
Brilliant. Okay, cool. I don't think my quirk kicks in yet.
Not just yet, no.
I think I'm okay, so...
Yeah.
Well, I'm a professional. That would be a 6.
Woohoo! You can hear Max yanking at the bell in the background and snarling as other villagers try to stop him yanking at the bell. You root around in your sundry priestly tat box. What is the relic that you find then?
I think it's a bone that absolutely Max is not getting, because Max is not helping like a good sheriff should. So it's a bone, but it's sort of bound in metal and turned into like a cudgel. And once upon a time, it definitely struck down a potent vampire lord. It is said to be drawing themselves together once more, far to the north, in a castle atop a bleak mountain.
Go that away.
Please. Here's a club I made.
I kind of get the feeling that you just have you artisanally create a load of magical tat just in case just for these scenarios, and then also to sell in the city.
It's just better if everybody's really calm.
Well, calm is absolutely not Bardal right now. Bardal is really quite excited the adventurers are here and wants to help them. He's not trying to drive them away. So Bardal is going to very excitably get young Maltz to get the other young grandkids out, Tater, Turnip and Beet, and they're going to start getting out all of Bardal's old adventuring kit, and he wants to set up his old training course, because adventurers, they're going to want to show off and do stuff, and so he's going to try and provide them with some of his old training equipment so they can be diverted. I'm hoping this means they're going to do stuff on the edge of town that isn't going to involve burning it down, because that's where Bardal's house is.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I will definitely give you a dice pool for the clan patriarch because you're drafting in your minions. I think I'm going to knock one off though for your... No, actually, I think at the moment your quirk is probably helping you out because it's helping with your enthusiasm for the prep, so I'm not going to knock one off for that just yet.
Only because he's not trying to help.
Yeah. So I think that's a 2 dice one for you to begin with as well then, maybe?
May I have another dice for his delusions of adventure, having provided him with the equipment?
I will, yep, I'm happy with that.
Let's go for it. Right. Ooh, we get a 1, 3 and a 4.
So the 4 takes it?
The 4 takes it.
Okay. You have not quite successfully made your preparations just yet, but they also haven't made it just yet either. They are about halfway to the town. They have picked up their pace into a venturing dog trot. They are double moving to get here now.
Looking suspicious, Rob. Dog trotting, you say?
Yeah, he can't do that. That's my thing.
You still have a little bit of time before they get here to present themselves. Neither clock is yet full. So who wants to try to get us over the line?
I would like to go to the village inn and to the Carnation Polycule and get the inn ready, so clear out some rooms, get a stew on, make sure there's enough beer there, because they're going to drink, they're going to eat, and if we can contain them in the inn and keep everyone else away, then that should be good.
Yes, Lily Carnation. Sorry, Harry. Yes, Lily Carnation. Sorry, Harry.
I would say, can Bardal help by bringing in some of the apple brandy that one of his sons has been brewing recently?
Yeah, I'll give you a bonus die for help
Good
from
brandy.
Bardal.
So...
I point out he's not trying to help. He wants to party.
Yes, but it might also make them go blind, so...
Yes, it might.
Brandy's a very generous term, isn't it?
That's a 6. The good brandy will definitely make them go blind. Or at least knock them out, so, they just go to bed.
This is not making me any more convinced that it's actually brandy.
Yeah.
It also cleans paintbrushes.
I mean, both things can be true.
Congratulations! You have filled your first clock before the adventurers have arrived. The village is a hum of activity. Speaking to the Carnation Polycule, the word gets out pretty quickly that adventurers are coming. Old Bardal is setting up his adventuring obstacle course. Max has been teased away from the bell. Old Jeb is out brandishing one of his magic bones. The village, and others of the Schultz clan really, Maltz has gone around spreading the word as well. The village is understandably very, very anxious about what's going to be happening. No one here quite likes adventurers. They come in, they destabilise the economy because they expect that you in a small farming village can break a platinum piece for a round of drinks. But they can see that you are in control. You are their elders for a good reason. They believe in you for the most part. Obviously not you, Bardal, but they have faith in the rest of you to wrangle Bardal, as well as the adventures that are coming. I kind of get the feeling that your role in the council, Bardal, is like a hereditary role, and it's written in some ancient charter. And it's like, oh god, okay then.
I think the town believes in Bardal. They just don't believe Bardal.
Yeah.
I'd imagine, probably about 60% of the town is related to Bard. The reason why he's there, because there's got to be one of them, and luckily this means there's only one.
Bartle gets stuff done. It might not be the right stuff or same, but it gets done.
But the village is as prepared for the adventure's arrival as they can possibly be. The tap house is starting to fill up with the curious and the concerned. The good brandy is out. The beds are clean and cleared. The stables have been dusted down and made ready. Another one of the Schultz clan is there, kind of getting ready to hopefully beg for coppers for acting as stable boy. There isn't a dedicated stable boy for the village because everyone has their own horses. Those people who have horses rather have, it's a farming village. They know how to deal with horses. They don't need a stable boy. Garth Bellowbright, the gnome who owns a general store, is reopening the general store, having seen what's going on. They look a little bit nervous at the prospect of adventurers coming in. You know, Garton used to be a wandering merchant and possibly a former adventurer who settled here about 5 years ago, and they've always been a little twitchy when other adventurers come in. Barty Chapman, emphasis on the surname there, the miller, who is definitely a human man, you can tell because they're called Chapman, has gone back to his mill, looking a little bit nervous and letting everybody know that the mill is closed for the night. They are not coming to help out the adventurers, they are staying away. And that is because all of you except Bardell knows full well that Barty Chapman is in fact 3 goblins in a trench coat who happen just to be very, very good millers, so nobody bothers. The fiction is maintained, but they have thought it best not to be around a group of adventurers who tend to see things a bit more colour-coded for your slaughtering convenience.
But what if the adventurers need flour at a short notice?
Garton, oh, don't you worry about that. I've got plenty in over here. Everything will be fine.
I should really get on with my trip, shouldn't I? Or do you need me here?
You don't want to be out by yourself when there's adventurers about. You know, you don't know what they're going to do.
Good point.
And also, if anyone gets hurt or anything, then, you know, we're going to need you here. And also to keep everything calm, you know, you're very good at that, and, you know, get a good ear if they get a little bit rowdy.
Sure, I can take my trip next week. I can do it then. It's
Going on a trip, young old Jeb? An adventure?
I was going to go to the nearby town and the church there and spend some time with the priest there. But if I can stay here. I can do it another time.
I could come with you. I've done battle with a church before.
No. It's quite all right. You wouldn't enjoy it. It's you wouldn't enjoy it. But it's fine. It's fine. I'll be fine. I can read up on my faith next week.
I mean, hopefully, you know, they'll be gone by morning if we do this right.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And then you'll be here for the cricket, and, you know, the mayor will be very happy if you're here for the cricket.
I do love cricket. Absolutely. Max, just so we know, area around towns, it's all safe. There's nothing that an adventurer could take offence at. Good. Thanks for taking a look there.
Max is going to take a quick run around the village to make sure there's nothing that, screams adventurers, stick your nose in here.
Or sword.
At the moment, nothing immediately springs out. But as you finish off your circumnavigation of the village, you get your first sight of the adventurers. They have stopped 100 feet outside of Eiderglass, and they have struck a pose. They are waiting clearly for someone to come and talk to them, and they are standing there. Their leader is a human, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing field plate with chain covering the gaps. He is bald and has a tremendous moustache. On each of his shoulders, surmounting the steel pauldrons, are kobold skulls. The shield has a blazon of a dead kobold with a stick figure standing above it, driving a sword into the kobold's head. His knee pads are kobold skulls. He is carrying a huge sword, the pommel of which is the skull of a much smaller kobold, and he stands there, looking into the middle distance, chest puffed out, left hand holding shield, right hand on his hip, waiting for someone to acknowledge him.
I will go and meet the adventurers. You see Bardal sort of striding forward, trying to tie on an old chip sword onto his waist and saying, "It's Cove the Bold. I recognise him well."
I'll come with.
Next to the human, there is a dwarf, more beard than humanoid, carrying more axes than is feasibly possible for a person to carry and still move. You can just about make out distrustful eyes squinting from beneath thunderous overgrown brows. Their blazon on their shield is 4 tankards and an axe. Their shield has axes hanging off it, and it looks like the top of it has been sharpened so it can also be used as an axe. Behind the dwarf there is an elf of indeterminate but possibly feminine gender. They are wearing long flowing robes emblazoned with silver stars and moons. Their hat is tall and pointy and emblazoned with silver stars and moons. They are carrying a staff capped with a dragon's claw, stylized, holding a crystal that thrums with an energy that hurts your eyes to look at. She is also staring off into a slightly different middle distance to the human. And at the back, looking extremely shifty, is a halfling. They are not carrying any visible weapons. Their feet are flapping and extremely hairy. Underneath their cloak, you can see the bulge of pouches, and their fingers are twitching. Their eyes are rat-like as they're scampering around. And as you advance upon the group, you can see that they are immediately appraising you for what they can steal. When you get within 10 foot, the human puffs his chest out further and goes, "Greetings, villagers! We are the Gilded Weasels! I," and he throws his hand in the air, "am Sir Boris the Stout. You may have heard of my adventures and my deeds slaughtering the kobolds of Kobold Keep in Koboldtopia. These peaceful dragonlings will no longer threaten innocent people, for while they insisted that they came in peace, we all know you cannot trust a kobold, and besides, they had treasure. This," he gestures towards the dwarf, "is Gritty Blackrock, knower of stone and killer of orcs and goblins. He has faced down the most dreaded demons you can imagine, and has survived centuries of war in the deep, dark places. He has delved too deep and come back stronger. Behold," he gestures towards the elf, "Melindra the Magnificent, mistress of the arcane arts, and someone who can read. And finally, Squeaky Pete. He is our acquisitions expert." And the halfling pops around and goes, "Slender! Silence, Squeaky Pete. We are here to grace your village, having done you all the great service of clearing out the tomb to the north. Never again will the demons, undead, and monsters that dwelled there threaten this fair and small village. And all we ask in return," and once again he looks off into the middle distance, kind of slightly towards the sky, "is a place to rest, the chance to resupply some drinks and food, and the opportunity to relax a little from the services we have carried out in the name of justice and safety. If you feel that you have to throw us a party to say thank you, to offer us a heroic discount, and introduce us to all of the single people in your town who might be looking for a good time, we would, of course, be grateful." We are on to Scenario 2. The adventurers are here and have demanded an appropriate welcome. What do you do? And what do you mean a destabilised economy?
One of the issues Max has realised with these adventurers is they take themselves really seriously.
Oh no.
Like, they've got this mental image of what an adventurer should be, and that's what they're trying to be. But they just need to, relax, calm down, and just take themselves less seriously. And you can't take yourself any less seriously than when a dog is just being aggressively adorable at you.
I get the feeling that you're leveraging your quirk to actually be a bonus here, right?
No! I have disarming demeanour as one of my positive traits.
Yeah.
I would like to point out, Adam, that Rob has said that's what Max thinks. What the rest of the world thinks to Max
Who knows?
is entirely in the hands of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And indeed the dice. And we already know what the dice think about you at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. So Max has also decided no one's given him any belly rubs in a while, and that is a crime. So yeah, he's going to be aggressively adorable at them.
That's a good point. Like, obviously, we can all understand Max. Can the adventurers speak dog?
Well, we're about to find out. That's a 6.
Woohoo! Apparently they can. They look a bit taken aback at this gigantic hound lolloping over, and well, describe what that looks like, Rob. Come on.
Yeah, like this is a gigantic wolfhound. These things are like bigger than some small horses. So, and it just bounds into the middle of the group and just starts rolling around on his back, trying to chew at their feet, pulling on their cape, chasing after his own tail. Max is being very loud but adorable, and he's probably bigger than the halfling, so probably knocking the halfling over, and loudly proclaim.
The enthusiasm of Max seems to puncture their pomposity a little bit. And indeed, although Gritty Blackrock does not seem interested in playing, he's too busy scowling distrustfully at you. Squeaky Pete, after getting over his initial shock of being bowled over, gets on your back and rides you around a little bit and is laughing and waving his hat in the air and reaches into his pocket and gives you some treats. Sir Boris and Melindra are smiling indulgently like proud parents. And yes, it also buys the rest of the village a little bit more time as they frantically continue to try and get some food together and reopen the store and that sort of thing.
Bardal will, whilst watching this display, will go, "Oh, I'm so proud he's become an animal companion. I used to have an animal companion once. It was a bear, or was it a seal?" And he'll just carry on rambling for ages.
I remember it drowned, so possibly not a seal.
Seals can drown. They need to breathe air.
I'll step up to Sir Boris. Respectful distance, obviously. I'm looking for a distance that's just outside full armor plus a sword.
Yeah.
That's respectful. Sir Boris, I believe word has reached us of you and your kobold slaying. I'm very pleased that you were able to deal with a potential danger to the village. Alas, you must understand, we hadn't realised you were arriving, or we would have had something more lavish available to you. And we are preparing for a cricket game later on in the weekend. But it would be wrong of us if we did not show you the best hospitality we can. Take a walk with us into town, and I'll show you some things. It will be a slow walk. There will be stories about, you see this road sign here, this was laid by you get the idea. Like anything I can do that's going to buy another 5 minutes for people to hide their valuables and or get some of that freshly baked bread put in a location that we can get it to that dwarf.
Yeah. Mark the prices up by a factor of 1,000, that sort of stuff.
Naturally.
Mark it up by a factor of 1,000, then put a thing saying 50% discount for adventurers.
Of course. Some things will obviously be free, because it'll be expected, and then other things will not be.
Yeah, make your roll.
Slow and rambling. Can Bardal help? It is his calling.
I will give you another bonus die for being helped by Bardal.
Excellent. So can I have the one for being friendly and reasonable? And I think that's basically my plan. I don't think being a priest pays into it. You won't believe this, but it is another 6.
That's all good.
It was 2 2s and a 6.
Thank you, Bardal. So, yes, you begin escorting the adventurers through the town. They don't clock on that what you're doing is delaying them. Certainly Sir Boris feels greatly honoured by the fact that you are clearly so invested in them that you're showing them the interest, and with Bardal by one side as well, rambling on about his days as an adventurer. They haven't clocked on that your stories at the moment are total, hokum.
What? They're all true? Every last one of them?
He's nodding, kind of, oh, yes. Squeaky Pete is still riding on the back of Max at the moment, who's trotting alongside you. Gritty and Melindra are kind of hanging back behind Sir Boris and looking around. Gritty is scowling at everyone and everything, his hand never too far from one of his multitude of implausible axes. Melindra has a slight wrinkle to her nose, and as much as you can tell, it is always hard to read whether or not the slight contemptuous expression of an elf is general or specific, but she certainly has her nose wrinkled a little bit as she's looking around at your village as she's walking through it, but seems content for the moment to walk in step and feign some vague interest. You obviously have not quite yet filled your clock, even with 2 lucky rolls, but you're not a million miles off it.
So Beryl didn't go to the welcoming committee. She stayed behind to keep preparations happening in the village, to see if I can't get a couple of the local villagers to start playing music in the tavern, armed with her pocket full of sweets, getting the children off to bed, making sure that the less conventional looking members of the village are somewhere safe where they won't be, obvious and then cut down by, nutters with swords. Listen, making it feel very welcoming and just very... Once again, I'm trying to funnel them into the tavern and try and keep them there as long as possible until we send them off on a nonsense quest.
Okay, make me your roll.
Could I use both my disarmingly middle-aged and my pocket full of sweets?
Yes, I will allow both of those.
3. It was 2 1s and a 3, but a 3 nonetheless.
They're all Werther's originals.
They are all Werther's... Well, I mean, it's either going to be Werther's originals or they're going to be nettle-flavoured. It's not going to be nice. It's going to be bleak. It's Fisherman's Friends. The pocket full of sweets is Fisherman's Friends. No one likes them.
And that, unfortunately, is exactly what's happened here. The children do not seem particularly inclined to assist. What they want is the excitement, because they're not old enough to have realised exactly what a danger adventurers possess, and they've grown up listening to Bardal's tales about how great adventurers are and all the wonders. They want to see these heroes, and they are not behaving. They are starting to break out of containment and flock the streets. The adventurers, seeing that they have an appreciative audience in children, are puffing up their chests even more. Sir Boris is getting louder as he's talking about the horrific slaughter that he's inflicted upon various creatures that probably didn't want anything to do with it and were just happily living their lives. Gritty Blackrock is scowling further and takes a kick at one of the children as they get a bit too close, trying to tug on his beard. Squeaky Pete, as one of the children runs past, suddenly has a corn dolly that you can see he's tucking inside his tunic. You're starting to lose a little bit of control as the children begin to get involved.
So Bardal, ever to the rescue, is going to have his prime bottle of brandy, and he's going to save the day by asking them about their backstories. So, Melingera and Gritty the dwarf, do tell me how you met Boris. Your party is most impressive. Here's some brandy. I made it myself.
Yeah, make your roll. I'm going to give you a bonus dice because you have leveraged.
Leverage the trope.
Leverage the trope above and beyond. I think these are things that I'm going to add to the rules, which I think these are going to get added to the rules. Yes, have an extra dice for leveraging the trope. And again, I don't think at the moment that your quirk is going to remove from it, because at the moment you're playing into what they need to hear. It will more come later on as you're trying to keep them under control. At the moment, I think it's working out for you, so...
Control? What's that? Oh, no. A 1, 2, and a 3. I need to help other people. Clearly can't be trusted to do anything on his own.
I think all that's happened here is we've added alcohol to this potentially dangerous mix.
The main problem is this. Sir Boris the Stout continues walking on with old Jeb. Max continues to walk along with Squeaky Pete on his back. Melindra and Gritty, however, have stopped. Gritty is scowling at you with such furious distrust that his face has almost entirely scrunched up. Not a single inch of skin is visible. It is he's like a tribble of distrust and disapproval staring out at you. Melindra, however, has taken the bait, and with all the pomposity and grandeur, and more importantly, immortality beholden to an elf, begins to tell you her backstory, heedless of how long that is going to take.
You've got the monologuing.
Standing in the middle of the street, the children are now flocking around, and the careful preparations of the village are getting disrupted. The party has been split. The children are both bored and rapt in equal measure, and the villagers are now trying to keep their children away. The children do not want to go. They want to listen to the elf tell their stories of faraway times and ancient things. Things are starting to get a little bit out of control as the party has split. Who wishes to try to rectify the situation?
Wizard players, I'm telling you, right? They're the worst.
And elf players.
Elf wizard players, the worst.
My next character, Wizard Elf.
Almost every character I played. Elf or wizard.
Sometimes both.
Sometimes both. Seeing that they've stalled, I will invoke my sort of priestly grandfatherness and sort of the kids at around like, come on, you, away from here. We've got important heroes that we've got to get to the bar. Master Blackrock, join us in the bar for an ale.
His face slightly unscrunches at the thought of ale, to the point that you can now see there, or at least eyes there somewhere.
I'll take that as positive, or a negative, but I'm doing it anyway. We'll get moving. Oh, come on, and sort of gesture for like, let's get these children out of the way. These are heroes that need to refresh themselves after a long walk. Great danger.
Make your roll.
All right. Does my village priestess help?
I think it does, yes. They hold you in a degree of respect. You are the guardian of their faith.
Marvellous. Oh dear. Oh dear. I got an 8. It was an 8.
That's not how the rules work in this, Jeff.
Okay, then. Well, if I'm following the actual rules, that would be a 2.
Ooh.
How did you get 8? Roll 4 dice.
I lied, Rob. I just lied.
Okay.
I
thought you were like adding your dice together or something.
Nope. There was no clever trick involved. I just lied.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh dear.
I think, by the way, can I throw in a point on this? Because I've messed this up here.
Yeah. What does that look like?
As weird as it sounds, I think that probably Boris and Gritty are sort of slightly on ball, but Melindra is now in a massive huff that I've sent her audience away, and both Boris and Gritty are perfectly aware they are going to have to deal with her moaning and her sulking for the entire night now, and so they sort of begrudge that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. The mood is starting to sour. The celebratory atmosphere of the Gilded Weasels, and indeed the children of the village, has been skewered and punctured a little bit. And there is, yes, a degree of petulance beginning to set in, both from Melindra, but also from them for having to deal with it. More worryingly, Squeaky Pete is no longer on your back, Max. You're not sure at what point, because of course there are now children riding you instead, and at some point the halfling has swapped with a child and you haven't quite noticed. And you certainly know that the halfling was slightly heavier before he got off than he was when he got on. And one of the children that's now on your back that you realise, you know how much they normally weigh, because they are normally festooned down with candy and their favourite dolly and, you know, the few coppers that they've been given to take to the shop, and they feel a little bit lighter.
Oh no, someone has committed a crime in Max's village. Oh no, that cannot stand.
I'm starting to think, actually, that really what we're going to need to do is swap which is your benefit and which is your quirk. Because... But that's where we currently are. Who wants to take the spotlight next?
I think Max is going to go charging after the halfling. He's going to hunt them down for being a thief.
Okay.
A tiny tea leaf.
So yeah, I think for this, I think that your is a dog is going to provide you technically with a benefit, but that's going to be cancelled out by your is a sheriff, because at the moment the fact that you're a sheriff is actually going to be holding you back a little bit. So those two cancel each other out.
Okay.
Which seems fair to me, I think.
Yeah. So it should be 1 dice, or a nose for trouble.
Nose for trouble, I'll give. Yeah, you can
Yep.
definitely have nose for trouble. Yeah.
So 2 dice. That's a 5. So I start. So Max starts weaving through the crowd.
What I'm going to say is be very, very glad that your clock is shorter than their clock at the moment. That will not always be the case. But that's 1 box ticked for each of you. Yeah, you manage to shake off the children on your back and lope off and catch Squeaky Pete. Squeaky Pete is currently round the back of the inn, where there is a beautiful apple pie just cooling on the window ledge, ready to be one of the centre points of the feast that is being prepared for these adventurers. And his little halfling hand is just reaching up for it. He sees you and kind of freezes, and then slowly backs away with a big old smile on his face. And you begin to try to shepherd him back to the main street and the rest of the village. Who wants a spotlight next? For what will probably be the last roll of this, one way or another.
So, seeing as, it's all, descending into chaos, especially with the kids, Beryl is going to turn on, her matronly voice, and her matronly voice is a bear. She's a font to a druidic power, so there'll be a mama bear roar of, "Go to bed!"
I'll let you invoke your Weather Witch aspect on this as well, because they know that what happens when they push you too far, and that is lightning storms.
Yep.
A sudden clap of thunder.
Yeah.
So yes, there's a sudden, bear-like roar, and that's a 5, Adam.
Bedtime!
You see Bardal sort of startle for a second and then get up and move as if he's going to bed.
Max as well starts loping off to where his bed is.
You have just beaten the adventurer's clock.
Played for a got.
So, play us out, please, Lou, as this episode begins to come to a close as the adventurers make their way into the tap house, ready for the night and the children disperse. What does that look like as you fully invoke your druidic abilities and get things back on track?
As Beryl roars, there's a change in her face where it turns into this strange bear-like cast. Though it's green. The bear face is green, and the lips fly up as, she yells,
Time to go to bed!
and it stops the entire village in its tracks. And they've seen Beryl when she gets upset, and they do not want to deal with it. So everything just stops, falls silent, and the children just melt into the night as if they weren't there as they creep to their beds. The adventurers are rounded up and escorted in towards the pub with the smell of fine food and the start of some drums and a lute starting up. And the sounds of tankards being filled.
So Bart's like, bloody hell!
That was my animal companion one time. It's so good to see my bear again.
Now we've talked about this, Bartle. We don't talk about that in the village anymore. That was a different time.
A time of adventure. It was so long ago.
Oh yes, there was certainly some adventure.
And as you lead the Gilded Weasels into the tap house and the music starts to play, that is where we are going to close the episode for today. Thank you very, very much to my players. That was fun. Yeah, I can see some tweaks to the system that I'm probably going to make as we refine it along, but I think for a first punt at it, that was pretty good. I hope you had fun. Thank you to my listeners, as always. I hope you also had some good fun. And we will continue with the trials of Eiderglass and their unwanted visitors when we come back. But wait, before we leave you, this episode's patron is David Heckman. Incredibly good timing there, David. I hope you enjoy your new shiny Chaos Engine and Village Green based rewards. Thank you so much for backing as well. We really do appreciate it. It's very heartwarming, I have to say, when we see a new patron. I love all of our patrons. You're incredible. I mean, I love all of our listeners as well, but our patrons I love just a little bit more. Thank you again. Thank you to all our patrons. Thank you to all our listeners. Look after yourselves, my lovelies, and we will see you next time. Force Majeure is played using the Star Wars Force and Destiny game system by Edge Studios. Our intro music is by the amazing Sly Fox Audio. Check out more of her work at soundcloud.com/SlyFoxAudio. Our outro music is Suburban Outlaw instrumental version by Forget the Whale, used with gratitude under a Creative Commons license. Many of the sound effects and soundscapes are created using Sirenscape because epic games need epic sounds. If you're enjoying the show and want to support us, there's 3 ways you can do that. The first is by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/forcemajeurepod, where for as little as $1 a month you get access to outtakes, adverts, various other stuff, and my fortnightly ramblings. You can drop us a coffee at ko-fi.com/forcemajeurepod, or you can leave us a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to interact with us, there's a few ways you can do that. We are on the social medias, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter as @ForceMajeurePod, and we're over on Mastodon as @ForceMajeurePod at dice.can. You can also join our Discord, link in the show notes. Thank you very much for listening and being with us as we tell these stories. We hope you are having fun, and we will see you next time.